So today is November 5th, 2000, I almost said 2024. We are in Pearland.
Yes, sir. Pearland, Texas.
Pearland, Texas. In your place, tell me the name of your place.
TXO Academy.
All right. And we are?
I'm Dominick Perez. I'm the owner of TXO Academy, and I'm a two-time amateur champion and professional fighter.
Awesome. MMA fighter, let them know. So I'm just going to start with the usual. I have some basic questions here. Okay. How'd you get started in martial arts in general? How old are you? You're how old?
I'm 32.
So what's your birthday?
September 23rd, 1992.
All right, 32. How'd you get started? When did you get started?
I started when I was 17. I went to a family vacation, and I caught some UFC fights. And I was like, oh man, it's awesome. It just so happened it was Tito Ortiz's trainer. I saw some Tito Ortiz fights.
Oh, wow.
His trainer was in town in Pearland. He just opened a gym. So it just kind of fell into my lap, really. I mentioned it to my mom, and then the next day I came home from school and the article was open. So she went and signed me up.
Your mom was okay with it?
I mean, she didn't like it. Well, the coach lied to her. He said, no, he won't have contact for 1 year. She signed my waiver, and then I remember he smacked me with the mitt. That was the first time I ever been hit, and I was immediately hooked. I was just I just thought it was so awesome. Everything went white. My adrenaline spiked. Everything was, and I just remember him he said, "And here you're a man. We're gonna treat you, and we're gonna treat you like a man, but we'll knock you out like a man. And keep your hands up, or keep your fucking hands up." So
that's one way to learn.
And that was a core moment for me. And I don't know. I was like, all right. Yeah, cool.
So when you got home that first day, did you tell your mom, hey, they hit me?
No, I didn't know. I didn't say nothing. I was like, yo. She found out maybe a month later. My back was all, I was in the cage. It was a, I don't know, state wrestler. I don't know where he was from, but dude was ragdolling me. And I just kept going. I didn't know what to do. But whenever I went home, I had my shirt off and my mom seen my back and it was all bruised. I remember she was pretty upset. But she got over it. It was okay. I think the anxiety of me getting injured or getting hurt or whatever, but I was young, so I could sleep it off.
Yeah, that age,
you could sleep it off at that age, yeah. I remember the old guys in the gym telling me, not the old guys, but the veterans, the pros. It was Tim Snyder, Melvin Gillard, Jeff Rexroad.
Rexroad, really?
Yeah, he's a ref. He was there. Melvin Gillard, like I said, he was in the UFC back then. There's another one. He fought Hightower. I can't think of his name. Man, all the OGs, but they were probably in their 30s, mid-30s, something like that. And
what were they telling you?
It's different after high school. I was like, I don't know, because I could do 5.5s all day back then. It was you used to have unlimited energy. But yeah, they were right. After high school, I was like, wow, it's a lot different. But I always stuck with it. I maintained a job for the longest time. And then really when the COVID came around is whenever everything kind of fell in place to me for the gym's sake.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Before that, it was always ups and downs, and I was really pushing private training. But I was stretching it from 225 all the way to 288, doing mobile sessions. I had a motorcycle and I would just zip and zap all the way around town doing mobile sessions. Eventually I transitioned everybody to mitt work. I remember I got 20 clients. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool, I made it. I got 20 clients. And then a flood came. I don't know what flood. I don't remember what flood it was. A hurricane. And we flooded. And then everybody went to doing remodeling, and so I lost all my client base. So I even did remodeling. I think I took maybe a year or something like that. Maybe not a year, but I don't know. I took some time and I went to California. And I was working on a project out there.
Where in California?
San Bernardino.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
out in the desert.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know anything. I know we got to see some mountains. Everything was mountains and hills. Mm-hmm. It was cold at night. It was different. It was an experience for me. But no, I had to come back. My home is Texas,
Yeah.
So it was cool though. It was a good life experience. I got to train with some guys that are in the UFC now out there. Julian Turner, Robert Rose. They're all in the UFC now. It was called Adrenaline MMA. It was a pretty cool gym. I remember the coach, his name was Adam, I think AK-47 or something like that. Little dude. Julian Turner's a big, tall real big tall dude. So seeing that was pretty cool, and that gave me hope. I was like, cool, maybe I could be a coach. So like before, I didn't think you could be a coach to a bigger guy. I don't know. I was young, like, but him being like my size, he was the coach of the school, and he had it opened my eyes to like it's IQ, it's the amount of hours you put into it, just like anything else when you go to school, right? Experience, right? So the proof's in the pudding, really. So I mean, I thought that was really cool.
Well, as a competitor, I mean, you kind of train a little when you're ready for a fight. Like in your case, you're ready for a fight. You're training a little, I would imagine, a little differently at the moment to fit that in, versus when you're just training generically, just when you don't have a fight in there. What is the biggest difference you find when you do that?
A little more focused. You kind of relax. We train all year round, right? It's a lifestyle, really. But the intensity picks up, the focus and the nerves. Like if you don't, you want to, like Drew does a real good job of like getting me there. Like he'll give me a visual that I could hear him from in the cage. I'm tired. I'm like, man, like I'm starting to fade, and he'll be like, nah, stand in the doorway, protect your family. And then the visual, you see it like in the minute and in the moment, and it's it gets you there. It does good. I like it. I'm starting to hear him more, and he knows how to navigate. I've been there a little while now, so like I think we're doing a real good. I'm getting better at listening to him, and he's getting better at navigating and knowing when. He told me the other day, like, hey, I know that face. Nah, not right now. Nah, cut that shit out. Like, oh, all right, I got you.
It's funny how you have a coach like that's going to hold you accountable.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, that's and it's funny whenever I hear him coaching in the gym or at ACS, you can hear his voice across the room. I mean, it carries across. I mean, even when you're competing, when we're at Humble up there, you can hear it. I can hear it in the whole area. Everyone's like, yeah, we can hear him.
Yeah.
How you training differently now? This is this fight coming up. Is your third one? Third professional?
Fourth, fifth, something like that. Yeah, it's like number 3 or 4 with Drew.
Yeah, with Drew. Okay, with Drew.
With Drew, yeah.
What do you find yourself focusing more so now than say you did your first one?
The mental perspective, just like controlling the anxieties, the mental doubts, the what ifs. I never really. You focus so much on the physical training, but I think the mental part can kind of always like, it's a lot of mental in the game, and it's more mental. Some guys are really good at that, but the anxieties always kick my butt, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've really this last camp I've done less physical but more mental. I'm getting a little more rest. Just it's a little different for me.
Do you find that's kind of true because of your age or just your experience?
Yes, I think both. Like, as I age, I'm having to learn how to train a little bit different. You got to listen to your body, right? I'm all for pushing it, but like I was always really bad at resting. Or like there was no rest. Like there's no time in my schedule to rest between running the business, running private clients, running, the classes, and then my personal training. It was a lot. But I'm finding the hours are there. You just got to kind of prioritize it, So that's the biggest thing I think I've adapted this camp.
So when you're coming up on this one here, just on a technical level, so you're working more on the mindset. You said anything on the skill set, more boxing,
absolutely.
more
no. I mean,
BJJ,
so we kind of implemented blending. If I was to put a word on it, I would say blending. So we've had fights where I just played my striking attributes. I've had fights where my last fight, I feel like I showed my, evolution in wrestling, and now we're just working on blending it. Making it, putting it together, and then marinating it and looking for the finishes. Trying to find those. I don't have to get the takedown because I have the striking, right? So we're just trying to blend it. Drew did a good job the other day of explaining it. Like he shows us. Movements, defense, offense, and then blending. And then just the blending for me is really what I've been focused on.
That sounds like it's a real mature point.
Yes, sir.
In your training.
Absolutely.
I remember your last fight. I watched it, and you got to the guy's back like twice. Yeah. And I think both times he was saved by the bell. And that because I'm like, oh, he's got to his back, but you only had like 10 seconds or 15 seconds at that point. And then you got to his back again in the next round. again, it was like 30 seconds left, and he just hung on. I'm like,
Right.
ugh. It was
Yeah, it's tough.
just right there. Yeah, because I know when your wrestling is pretty good, because I always great when you and I go together, because it's a real kind of a chess match.
Right.
You know, I love it. He locks me down, by the way. He'll lock me down. We'll go in there, and like for the next 3 days, I'm trying to get my leg out from being locked down, which is, I mean, it's a great, I think it's a great skill set to learn in general.
Right.
Going back to, I mean, you have people you train here,
Yes, sir.
boys, girls, older people, younger people.
Everything in between. Yeah, everything from A to Z. Most of our people are in because they went through some kind of experience that made them look up self-defense. Like, oh, hey, someone, like, I thought I was going to get robbed, or I thought this person was following me, so it prompted them to look up self-defense. And we utilize our MMA system for self-defense, right? Like, I understand 90% of people don't want to get in the cage and fight, and that is fine. But it works either way. And then the stuff that we show is the stuff that we use in the cage. So it kind of shows them that, I tell them, if we could do it in the cage with another person that's trained to counter what we're doing, you can do it against a person that's not. And it'd be different. Obviously, I'm not going to like box with a dude that's trying to rob me or something. We're going to grab him and get the points of control them, right? Like, and we kind of, especially with the kids, we show them, because they'll learn a cool move and they're like, all right, yeah, like, we can Jimmy next time I see him. Like, oh, easy. It's okay, you know.
Hold
like,
on.
Right, you know, calm down. We tell them not to use their powers for evil, or, you know, their superpowers. And they like that. The kids do good, though, but they learn fast. So, I mean, it's interesting to see the next generation.
Yeah, that's when you brought up that, you know, a lot of people are coming to you because they had a close encounter, let's say, or something like that. Is that happening more lately, or just kind of always kind of a steady stream?
Throughout the whole, you know, relevance of us being here, honestly, whenever, if it's a walk-in, or, you know, whenever I ask them, like, how'd you hear about us? I'll say, oh, we Googled you. Okay, well, what brought you in? What are your goals? Like, oh, man, like, we had one guy, he was a professional cowboy, and remember his name?
Like a rodeo guy?
Yeah, rodeo guy, rode bull. He jumped off the bulls, and he would, like, I don't know, turn their necks and get them on their back and tie up their feet or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude was strong, but
yeah.
You know, I guess he got in an altercation, and he was like, yo, I realized I didn't know what to do. You know, like,
as big and strong as he was.
Quick, yeah. He's like, I realized, like, yo, he said his heart was pounding. You know, you get the shock, the adrenaline, all the emotions that are tied to it. And he said he realized he didn't know what to do.
What the hell he was doing?
So he came and he learned. And the dude was super strong. I remember, super nice guy. But we were sparring one time, and some people don't, especially when they're that nervous. Dude kicked the shit out of me, man. He kicked my leg, and I remember I was like, oh man, if this dude was like a bad guy, I probably would have lost composure and got on him. Like, but he was just scared. He was genuinely scared. He's seen some punches go by his face, and that's the fight or flight in him.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's back riding bulls now, but. You know, so our goal is to get everybody up to a position where they feel like, okay, I have some kind of base, like situational awareness is always, you know, top priority, right? Just being aware of your surroundings, if that's even just looking up from your phone every now and then.
Yeah, that's a big, like, that's almost like a generational thing. Kids today are just like, they got their faces buried in that phone 24/7. Right. And to me, that's just asking for it.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're so like focused there that, and I teach a lot of like peripheral vision. I'm like, we look through. I was always a daydreamer. I daydream a lot, so I was always good at kind of like staring through or like, just, you know, so it's kind of, just looking out in the gaze. People are like, hey, you good? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. Just, I don't know, I guess a million thoughts an hour or whatever, but that always helped me really train my peripheral vision. And I think that kind of really relates to like fighting, fight camp, you know, your cognitive function, you know, all that good stuff. So
cool. I got a question. You train kids, right?
Sir.
Okay, and let's say youngest is what?
4. My daughter's 4, so yeah.
Okay.
It's tough, but yeah, she's involved.
Okay, so let's say 4 as a base, and then when you're teaching kids, say from 4 to I don't know, 14, 15?
About 11 is typically.
Okay,
Yeah, we do 11 because at 12 they can get bigger than me. My son's 12 and he's thicker than me and a little bit taller than me probably already.
Yeah.
So.
How do you teach them differently though? I mean, or do you teach them differently?
Yeah, for the most part, we show them what we do. We just kind of like regress it and maybe make it into like a game. What I do, I'm real big on like, I'm like, okay, look, we can go to the park and play games. Here, we're here to learn, and it's serious. Like, self-defense is something serious. If most of them, or 9 out of the 10 kids in the class are bullied, like, hey, we're all here for the same reason. You are all bullied, so we have to learn. We can't really like play right now. You know, they're all in because they've been assaulted. They've been, moved schools maybe even, like, to get away from bullies. So it is I take it serious.
Bullies at school?
Bullies at school. So I've had several kids, in the program for that. So I mention that to them all the time. Don't forget your objective. Your objective is, we're bully-proofing you. We're making it to where that bully's not going to be a problem no more. Next time he comes and chokes you or slaps you across the face, you're going to know how to handle the situation. Because some of them, the parents get involved and the school doesn't do anything, right? Like, so,
yeah,
that's when you show the kid, like, okay, just don't let him, you don't have to run around avoiding the kid, but next time he comes up to you, whenever he's within, you put your hand out, we show them our the personal space, private space, all the difference in between. If anybody's coming at you with hostile intent, with a weird look in your eye or whatever, like, aggressively, you got to kind of use your senses and, like.
So that's with boys. What about, do girls get bullied? Or
the girls do too, yeah.
Yeah.
The girls do too. The girls are a little bit more, like, ferocious, though. They just get to swinging. I don't know, yeah.
Say that again?
The girls are more ferocious. The boys are like, hey, I'm getting bullied or whatever, and they'll get fed up with it and then maybe, get into a tussle. But the girls are typically like, what happened? Oh, well, she, like, got the other girl and started hitting her. She doesn't know how to do it, but they're just, I guess, naturally. The girls do learn faster, though. In my years of coaching, we had very few girls at one point, and then at one point the class doubled up with nothing but girls. And we would do girls versus boys, and the girls would win 9 out of 10 times.
No kidding.
The girls would outthink and outmatch the boys almost on every scale. It was crazy.
Really?
Yes. There's a few big guys, bigger guys that could, like, muscle it through.
So, but is this an athletic thing or just a pure mental thing?
I think it's mental. I think it's just the boys over here, like, eating boogers, looking at the flies, and the girls are sitting there like, hey, focus, stop. Like, my daughter, she'll get the other kid's head and turn it to, like, hey, chill, it's okay. Like, but it's interesting seeing the different kids' personalities for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Huh. Okay. But do you teach the girls and boys differently? You say they learn differently.
They learn differently, but okay, so we teach them as a vast, right? So like, I don't really treat them any differently. I just may, like, okay, you got to read the kid. Each individual kid, some kids you need to be more stern with, and you need to let them know, hey, I'm not playing with you. Look at me in the eye. I'm talking to you. Like, stand up straight. Focus, right? And I treat them all like that, right? But some you'll start to see them like, oh, they'll shut down. And if you shut a kid down, he's not learning nothing. And he won't be here long because eventually, especially this generation, they'll tell the parents, nah, I'm good. The parents are like, all right, cool, and they'll pull them. And that's not what we want. We want them to learn and evolve past the discomfort and the, because some days they're having fun because they have a move that's maybe uniquely theirs. Like, oh man, I'm really good at this move. But 9 of the other ones don't like it because they suck at it, or they're not getting it or whatever right now. So that one kid is now blossoming. He's having a great time, right? So it's always something different. It's interesting for sure.
How much do you run into? You mentioned parents. Kids going back to the parents saying, "I'm done," or "I want to do it more." Can you tell from the kid how much support or what's going on at home with the kid?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it's so different with each kid. It's kind of crazy. Some kids, their parents just drop them off and they don't and I encourage them to sit and watch, right? But I do encourage them to like be quiet as well. Like, don't coach the kid. If you see your kid, like climbing the thing over there, right? Like, I'm gonna yell at him, don't worry, but like hey, you can like snarl him through the fence or whatever, or snap your fingers at him and tell him
if he's not paying attention,
get in line,
or something
focus, like stop that, right? But if it's like, hey, like snap him down or like sprawl, like, oh my, no, It's okay.
Oh, that
Let me do that. Just watch and encourage them, because sometimes the kids lose, and then and I could see whenever they look at the dad like, oh no, my dad's disappointed. You don't want to like, don't let the kid see that. You could be upset like, damn, he's not trying or whatever, like on the inside, but on the outside you gotta be like, hey man, good job.
Support it.
Just keep going. Get up, do it again. Shake it off, get up and do it again. And that is probably, whenever the parents do that, that is whenever I see the kids excel tremendously. I could do it, but they don't care. They want their dad or their mom or their parent to encourage them. And that, I can't stress that enough.
Do you run into parents trying to coach from the bench from here much?
A little bit, but I'll just kind of look and I'll just go like that. I don't like, hey, I'll be like, chill, I got it. Like some of the kids even too, they get excited because we have some kids that are a little more. We have one kid that's 11, and all the other kids are 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, right? Like, so he's top of the pack. But I'm like, man, you're good, but you got a lot of errors, and we got to like, you just don't have no one that's gonna like get you that look right now because you're the biggest, or you're like the oldest in the class.
Yeah. Right.
I was like, but now when you kick over to the adult class, you're gonna be the smallest in the class. I was like, so that's where you're gonna really have to fall into your technique. So it's interesting, and then you have like my daughter Vio.
Do you need to take that?
No, sir. It's all right. It's scam likely. Call me all the time. My daughter, she just, even if they're not doing everything that we're doing. So you asked earlier, like, how do I separate like the 4-year-olds and the 11-year-olds, right? Like we kind of put them in groups based on their body size. So I have a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and they're all about the same size. And that could technically be one whole class. But whenever I have like a dozen of them, then we'll probably implement a new class and have it just for them. But right now what we do is we just have them do a regressive version of what everyone else is doing. And then like the next group up, I might add the next step. So they all start with takedowns, or like we start with really just like Simon Says. But I don't say Simon Says. Just listen to what I'm saying. But you got to tell them it's a game. But some of them are smart. Like, Coach, you're lying. It's not a game. You just want us to do it, right? Some of them are smart.
All right, you're on to me.
Right. So
busted.
I typically start them with a little warm up. We'll just jog, shuffle, slide, like get the jitters out because kids are hyper, right? Like,
especially boys.
Right. And then after that, I'll line them up, and then we'll do a listening drill. I'll say like, okay, bear crawl down, forward, and then bear crawl backwards. Does everybody understand my instructions? That means everybody from 4 years old to 11 years old.
How long is the class usually with kids?
40 minutes.
Really? Okay.
40 minutes. That's the sweet spot. 30 minutes felt too short. I'm like, I'm just getting started. Like, because sometimes the listening drill takes 20 minutes. Sometimes they're not on today. Sometimes they ate too much sugar, whatever. They're like, they're going. So I'm like, hey,
candy on the way over.
We're not. That's all we're gonna do. If we can't do the listening drill, I don't resume class. That's what we'll do the whole class until everybody. But now I'm lenient. I'm lenient on them. Like yesterday, I tell them, okay, bear crawl forward, bear crawl backwards. Stay facing forward. Touch your head on the wall. Don't put your knees on the floor, and don't pick your hands up off the floor. Does everybody understand the instructions? Yes, sir. Okay, good. Go. And then someone stands up, or someone like goes to their knees or whatever. So now if I was like, now it depends on my mood too. Sometimes like I'm just not in the mood. I'm like, all right, nope, you're gonna do it again. All right, so everybody go back to the wall. Everybody do burpees. Okay, look at me. I'll re-explain. And then I ask the parents if am I missing anything? Am I confusing them? Like, I ask the kids one more time. Okay, do y'all understand? Go.
I'm sure some days are better than others too, where they.
Yeah, the kids are good, and they know what I expect. Now I'm just trying to get them to like be like that. Now I play the bad guy, like the bad guy, like good cop, bad cop. I'm the strict, hey, we're gonna do this, and we're not gonna. Their favorite game is Bulldog. It's basically just one person's on your hands and knees, and they like tackle the other kid to the floor, and then whenever they tackle the kid to the floor, now that kid's a Bulldog. Right, they love that game for some reason, right?
I'm just visualizing that now.
Right, they're just running around, like running in the corners, and then I'll slowly like make the area smaller and smaller and smaller. And the idea of it is for them to like work on their grips, just grabbing the person, keeping the person down, and then holding
like
them.
A tackling drill.
Yeah, basically, kind of like, or just even if you just grab the leg and I have the pant grip, now I'm working on my grips, and then they trip, they fall, I hold them for 3 seconds, and now he got his points or whatever.
So you said 40 minutes is a sweet spot, so an hour is too long?
Hour's too long. By then they're like, they're checked out. 40 minutes is like just, it's just right.
Critical mass.
I've done, because they get moody, they get tired, they get, you know, especially on the 4-year-old side. And you know, an hour would be cool, but I mean, I think maybe if I had a coach for each group or something like that, it'd be a little different. But yeah, it's always evolving, always changing. Because at one point we had like 40 kids. I had AC, and we had at least 4 or 5 coaches on the mat. We had to have, you know, the mats were packed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that's before we had this floor plan. We had like 40 kids on that side alone. So it
How
was
long
like
you been here?
we're going on like 5 years now,
Okay.
4 or 5 years, something like that. And
That's
we
good
slowly
size.
like floor plan, you know, got put together and, you know, got everything in sync. It's coming together pretty nice. I'm waiting on the person to text me, but I found an upgraded sauna. So I'm going to sell that and then upgrade that. And then I'm thinking about putting a hot tub under there. Weight cut stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Because when it's cold in here, it's cold. And that's when it's hard. So, like, I've thought about fighting in December, but it's more of a pain in the butt just because it's so cold. You know, it's almost better just to go cut weight somewhere else. Because as soon as you come out of the sauna, you're dried out.
You're in a meat locker, pretty much.
Yeah, right, exactly. So when it's hot in here, it's super hot. You don't even need the sauna.
Right.
But when it's cold, it's super cold. So you need the sauna for that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking maybe because I don't run since my knee surgery. I've tried running a few times. It just I do more bike, or I'll do like bleachers. I can do bleachers, believe it or not. I can run bleachers fine, and it doesn't hurt my knees. But the treadmill's okay. It feels, I don't know, it feels weird
How'd you
afterwards.
hurt your knee?
I was in camp. I was actually supposed to fight a dude that I lost my amateur title to, Alden, and now he comes here to spar on Friday, so it's kind of cool. And he just won his fight, man. So congrats to him. He came by a few times to spar with us. I thought that was cool. Because it's not what it used to be. Before, like, hey, we fought, we can't talk, we got to be, like, mortal enemies or whatever. I try to tell the guys, like, there's enough people in the world to fight. Like, we can, you know, we can collaborate, we can work together. And, little guys are kind of like unicorns. Like, we're not around very long, right? Because
a rare breed.
Right, we get hurt, or, you know, like,
unicorns.
you know,
I haven't heard,
I don't see many. And I've trained at several gyms, you know, and you don't find many little guys, very, very many.
So, what's your weight?
I walk around.
One thing I was going to say, the weight thing always concerns me when I see guys like you, guys like Nico. Nico, he walks around about 175, 180, and he cuts down to like 155,
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's a lot of weight.
56, it is. But I mean, so it's a science. People think like, oh, you're cutting the weight. You're really cutting the water, right? So it's like your body's mostly water, right? So like what you're doing is you're depleting your body of the water, essentially. And that's what's dangerous after a certain point. Based on your BMI, you know, bigger guys can cut more weight than little guys. So like I cut from 135 to, I was trying to cut to 115 in like 24 hours or something crazy like that. Yeah. I ended up drying out. So when your body dries out, that's like its last signal, like red flag for you to like listen to before you start shutting down organs, right?
Okay.
And at that point, you die. They give you morphine, tell you to say your goodbyes. You know, like you messed up. You know, like. So that's the issue. There was one guy that actually died in the cage. His heart stopped.
No kidding.
Yep, and LFA, Heathcock, Hancock, something like that. Bigger dude, but it was like 50 pounds or some big amount of weight.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, and the dude actually died. So now he's like, I mean, he came back. He didn't like they brought him back. Right? He died. Okay. Yeah, so now he's like a
health specialist.
He's like he's like, hell no, don't cut weight. It's horrible for your health.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely as I'm doing more strength and conditioning too. So like, I do feel my weight's a little heavier this time around. I'm typically like 35 this time around, right? But now I'm maintaining like 40, 38, 40. The fluctuation's a little bit higher, but my macros have also changed too. So like I got with my nutritionist like what 2 camps ago now, and I do notice a difference in my physique. I just had a buddy ask me like, dude, why aren't you all like ripped up like all the other guys at 25? I'm like, man, I like tacos and burritos and shit, you know, like
Kind of smooths out those little.
right. It makes me just kind of like I just flat whatever. But on a professional standpoint, you gotta do the nutrition. It becomes a battle of nutrition in there after
That's
the
part of the
first
science,
round.
though.
Right, exactly. So I've always ate pretty clean, but this kind of the counting my macros just kind of opened my like, damn, that coffee's like 300 calories. Like, nope, get that out of there. Like, I'd rather eat my calories and drink my calories.
Is it
like,
coffee or coffee with the creamer?
It's the creamer, yeah.
Okay.
Or like the Starbucks. When I mean like coffee, like people go to Starbucks, like,
Lattes.
it's right, like it's like got 500 calories in it, bro. That's the whole meal for me, like, and I could eat. So right now I'm on egg whites, and some spinach, and I eat a lot of it. It's like over 300 grams of egg whites, and some spinach. So it's enough to fill me up, but it's super light, super, so I'm not like dying, but it's still not pleasant, like not eating all day.
Do you do any like intermittent fasting or anything like that?
I mean, kind of, sort of, like towards this, this week's the wake up week. That's pretty much whenever.
You're fighting Friday, right?
I fight Sunday.
Sunday. Okay.
Sunday. So I'll weigh in Saturday.
Okay.
So typically, like the last 3 days is whenever we like 72 hours to deplete the sugars and the sodiums and stuff. And that's when the rest of the weight comes off. Like, so we water load a gallon plus. So anywhere from a gallon to 2 gallons. 2 gallons, I feel like it's too much for me. It's like, it's a lot.
In what period of time? 2 gallons.
Right. In like a 24-hour period, like 2 gallons from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. But like I said, my camp changed a little bit because before I was doing like 4 hours of training. Now I cut it to 2, right? So, and I'm not getting that additional sweat at night where typically I would. I would train again, or I'll train more hours and to get my sweats in. So the water weight's different this camp, but that's kind of like the science. That's where we're like playing with that. We're trying to like perfect it to where last camp I was on antibiotics. So I was sucking air. I admit that, but like that was antibiotics. Ask anybody if you're training on that. It sucks. It's hard. You feel weird. It feels. I remember warming up. I'm like, damn, why am I breathing hard? It was. But sometimes it's just the anxiety and like or whatever. Like the mental. I don't know. It's weird. It's a love-hate. I love it until like the day of the fight, you wake up and that's when the nerves. I remember my first fight back, it was probably my worst because I didn't get any nerves. And I was like, yo, that's weird. Like, I wasn't nervous at all. And in the morning I woke up, my stomach was turning.
Oh wow!
I couldn't eat. I told my people like, hey, I gotta go. Like, I gotta get away. I don't know. I came here. I remember like tried doing some like positive affirmations, trying to get my head right, whatever. Like, but I was out of there. That was interesting.
That was your first one.
That was my first one back. Yeah.
And where do you feel differently now?
Now I just feel like
How long ago was the first one? How many years?
Man, I don't know. At least 2 or 3.
Okay.
At least.
So you were 29
ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say around there. I'd have to go back and look, but that was the one where they stopped for the cut right here in the second round. And I just remember when I was in there, I felt like this didn't feel like before. I remember telling coach, like, man, I can't calm down. He's like, yeah, just do what you did before. I'm like, it's been like 4 years, coach. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel this feels completely new to me. And I was freaking out. I was kind of freaking out. I was like, the pressure was different because now I had the gym. And now I had, like, my daughter out there and everybody, all I sold a lot of tickets, too. So, like, I did have a lot of people out there for that one. But I've never been scared to like go out on my sword. Like, I'm cool. I'll take the ass whooping the whole time, but I know I'm tough. I know I can take a hit. That's for sure. But that dude was hitting me. When I go back and look at that one, that was kind of sad. I was like, oh no, Dom, that was bad. But
how did you hook up with Drew?
I seen him in the back, backstage a few fights. He always seemed real cool, like nice guy. And who did I reach out to? Was it Mikey? Maybe Nico. I've kind of, you know, crossed paths with Nico. I talked to Mikey here and there because we kind of came up together in the amateur rankings. I don't really remember. I just know I reached out, I think, to either Drew directly or Nico, and I asked if it was cool if I stopped by, and then yeah, Drew just welcomed me. It was super welcoming, so I was like, oh man, I don't even need to go nowhere else. That's kind of like, you know, like no need to, because I was like, all right, because I had trained at Main Street before with Crew Bob. It's just super packed there. He's got a shitload of fighters. It's a great gym. It's just super packed. And all like War's an hour and 30 minutes away. It just didn't work with what I'm doing here. You know, I did a camp where I was getting out there, but that was a whole day out. Like I had to like take off my private sessions for those days. So I was I couldn't make it happen. Not with running the business and, you know, what I'm trying. It doesn't really. It was just too far.
It's different when you have a life.
Yeah, and I have kids and, you know, a fiance, all that too. So like, it's you know, you got to find some kind of balance in it, you know. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. If I was younger maybe and I didn't have like the gym and I was working maybe, I don't know. But everything just like unfolded into my lap really, and then I ran with it. Ball ended up in my hand. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Open field in front of me. There's a touchdown right there.
Go run it in, and nice. It kind of just it's grown from there. So I take it like, if I mess it up, it's all on me, right? Okay. Like so I can't mess it up. I gotta make sure that I'm on top of the, you know, professionalism and getting the business more professional and more, you know, everything more sound, upgraded, looking better, you know, more systemized. You know, so definitely being under Drew's, you know, wing, he's a great mentor. So he's helped me on everything.
How do you find yourself? I mean, since you've been going to Drew for the fighting, what's changed in your method? I guess fighting method.
I mean, before I was, I guess, you know, I was the young guy before, and then I had that break, and that kind of shifted me over to the old side. And
old side being like over 30?
Over 30. Over 25, really, if you think about it. I mean, kind of you're knocking on 25 and you haven't had nothing established. You're not selling thousands in ticket sales, then, hey, bro, they're going to feed you to the 18-year-old kid.
Who's coming up?
That's coming up. He's already done it since he was probably like 5, maybe 3. And he's got a following. He's probably selling, man, you got some dudes selling $20,000 in ticket sales. I ain't selling that. You know, so shit. If you ain't selling at least what it costs for the promoter to put you on,
right?
Don't expect them to put you on, right? So like, that's some of the back end.
That's the business end.
That's the business end that people don't. 98% of people don't look at, right? You got to know how to negotiate your purse based off of those numbers too. You know, what's it cost of promotion to make the fight, and then what are you putting in to, you know, because at the end of the day, you're almost paying yourself, right? Like, off of your sales, and if you don't sell, you don't. That's what's kind of cool about being the out-of-town shooter. You don't have to worry about none of that shit. You just show up and fight. And but the pressure is different there. I mean, like, everybody's booing you, no one likes you, whatever. But who cares? Like, I was always a great villain, and I was still the crowd. In Vegas, they were like yelling Texas. It was unreal. It was cool.
That's funny.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is easy. It is kind of fun being the villain.
Yeah. I remember telling my people, like, just don't come. I'll be good. Because every time they wouldn't come, I would win. Whenever I was, like, fighting out of town,
that's
doing
almost
smokers.
superstition.
Yeah, it really was. And I think that kind of breaks down to your mental, where you're at mentally in your journey. Because there's all kinds of ups and downs. Max said it. He's saying how, like, you know, you love it, the preparation for it, but then you get there to the back and you're like, man, what am I doing? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why can't I be normal? Why can't I just like play video games?
What
get
got
a regular?
me to this point?
Like, God damn it! Why are you fighting this dude? This dude's a tough dude. It was whenever he was fighting Justin Gaethje, and that hit it to the T. And I've said that before too, man. It's a love-hate for me. When I'm back there, I'm like, damn it, Dominick, again. You know, like the feeling, the inner feeling. But when you get in there, it all goes away, and that's what's cool. I love that. Like, you get in there, you're like, oh man, like I was just tripping. You know, it's that inner voice, it's that inner self-doubt. You gotta, like, I tell my guys, you gotta kill him and leave him in the trunk. He never dies. You gotta deal with him and put him in the trunk, leave him there for later.
Yeah.
And you come out and you perform. If you don't, that boogeyman's gonna get you. And if you don't tie him up right, he'll get out the trunk and he'll show up whenever you're in there. Because the easiest way to out is to go down. Whether you take a fall, you take a knee, or you turn your chin, you lift your chin for someone to choke you. It's harder to dog it out. It's harder to dog it out. And I can't teach you how to be a dog. You just got to have it.
That's a good point. I mean, how much, because you've seen, you see tough guys, and you see people who look tough, but then they fold like a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
I mean, how much of that is their coaching? How much of that is internal?
Mostly internal. The coaching could, a coach can show you, he can break it down for you, he can try and like re-show you, but he has to be able to teach you as well, right? And I think that's a big thing that separates like coaching, right? You have like mediocre coaches that anybody can show you like a jab, but like there's
technique,
little details and little things, like the more details you got to be able to teach, right? So but I think it's ultimately on the person, because this is an individual man sport. It's you in there, right? Now there's some guys that are kind of more natural at it, right? And then there's some guys that are better with the navigator. Like the coach is your video game controller. He's controlling you. You listen to your coach, he can navigate you to the success, right? If you're like, I have some guys that have a lot of talent, but they're not very coachable. They don't want to listen, right?
Okay.
So those are the knuckleheads that you're like, all right, next. You go. As a coach, you kind of learn over the years, like, all right, I'm not going to put too much time into that kid.
How early can you see that?
You can kind of see it right away, honestly.
Really?
I could look at a guy and tell him something and just look at his eyes and see how he's listening to me. Like, oh, he's not listening to the shit I'm saying.
Does that ever change?
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. I've had some guys like that. I mean, honestly, yeah. I had one guy, he came in and the dude was trying to take my head off. And this was back whenever I had my other location. And I told him, I was like, if you land one of those, I'm going to have to hurt you. And he smiled at me, and he's like, all right, show me. So I put a knee in his chest, and it, made him go down. And he ended up signing up. So, that's...
what better advertisement, right?
Yeah, I was like, hey. He's like, oh, this is your gym? Like, look around, man. Like, there's pictures.
Yeah.
There's, like... Now, I've caught myself get offended a few times. I've had a few big dudes walk through the door, and they'll look down at me like, oh, you're the guy? Like, I know you see the picture of me right there by the door. I'm not the #1 employee, right? Like,
employee of the month.
Right. Oh yeah, I get a little picture right here. Like, come on, man. Context clues. It's
Now, do you coach? Do you have both men and women, or do you coach mostly guys?
It's mostly guys, but yeah, we have women, and I encourage women to do it. Especially on a self-defense perspective. I mean, so most of the guys are here for like therapy. It's just a good therapeutic workout, just from whatever. Like they do it from, like the exhaustion that you get afterwards. You're like, okay, we'll go home. And like, I'm not gonna go to the bar and drink or whatever. Like whatever their demons are, they're dealing with mentally. It's a relief, and for me as well. Like, I was telling one of my guys the other day in my 4-year break, I was spiraling bad. I was making mistake after mistake after mistake, and I couldn't get it right, and I
mistake in regards
just in life in general, just making bad
decisions,
bad life decisions, as a young man. So I had to take a step back and look like what am I doing different now that I was doing before? I was like, man, you know what? It's training. I haven't trained. The training kind of lets me like it.
Keeps you accountable.
It keeps me calm. Like, them hyper ass kids, like you make them run a little bit, and now they're like, yes sir, okay, I'm gonna clean my room. Like, it's the same shit for me. And
That's what you were just talking about
right?
earlier.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm a real like busybody person. So like, if I got too much free time on my hand, I'm crazy. I don't know. Fighters are crazy, So you just it helps me control my chaos. So I tell my guys, like, you got to control the outside chaos so you can get in and do this.
So when you go, we talked about kids. Training kids, and then you get to the next group, let's say the teenagers, and up to say what, 30, somewhere in 30s?
I would put 40s? Like teenagers to about, I would say maybe like, okay, so kids being like 4 to 11, and then I would say like 12 to about 20-ish is in the same boat, because those are the ones that could potentially be competitors, like your next generation competitors, right? They're not going to be competing right now, but if they stick with it, 10 years down the road, it's going to be a monster.
They're in the stable,
right? And that, right. So, and then you build them, I mean, the kids learn way faster than the adults. Now, I have some 18-year-old kids that learn super fast. And that's whenever I started, so I feel like I learned pretty fast too. But it was different back then. The game was different. It's evolved. Now I'm like, oh, there's some guys in there that are doing some high-level stuff. But because it's evolved, it evolved so much, it pretty much, MMA's been around for a long time. It just didn't get traction until the UFC started getting mainstreamed. But it's been around forever, right? So it like kind of broke down to individual martial arts, and then they all started coming back to MMA. And then now it's like, okay, you're getting the hybrid. They're traditionally Taekwondo and now doing Jiu Jitsu, and now they have all the traditional background plus the MMA blendability, if you will, right? So even with me, I came up after I was with Saul for a little while. I went to Angels for my amateur career, and he was a traditional Taekwondo guy, right? And then he did really well in boxing, and he blended that. That was his blended system, right? So, but now it's evolved even past that, man. Now you got guys that are like deep in the game. By the time there's a kid I met the other day. His name's like Houston, I think, and he's like 17, 18. But the dude's super crispy, super like the movement. You can see the movement. So as you level up and you're in the game for a little while, it's like you get a little power radar. You can kind of like sense power energies when you walk in the room or whatever. So and then more so whenever you see them move and how fluid they are, how easy they get that kick up there, like it's pretty interesting. I love it. I think it's cool.
That is cool. So that's that range. So the next age group would be, where would you put the
I would
next
say
age
like 25 to, plus 25 to like 35 is the next, group. And that's more, they're maybe not so interested in competing, or maybe like they are kind of maybe at 25 still, but, not as likely to, make it there because, they probably have an established job. Family. They're like, hey, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm not trying to like, y'all are going hard. That look crazy. They're in a different place in life. So, I encourage it. Like, hey, I feel like every man should get in there and try it. Now, obviously, like at 35, you don't need to, bro. It's okay. Like it's not like if you want to knock it off your bucket list, cool. But that's where injuries, you're not healing the same. Your body starts to, get a little more...
holds on to those injuries longer.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, man, I've said it several times. I don't want to fight past 36. You got to start getting your brain scanned at 36 as well. So that's why I'm like, man, I think that's it. Or 35, really, right? Because I don't want to have to pay for that extra. Another thing about fighting is you're basically an independent contractor, right? So that's what people don't understand. You don't have insurance. There's no insurance in this shit. So, like... you got to figure that shit out. If you're on, whatever insurance you may have, if you don't have insurance through your day job, you got to a lot of people think, oh, you could just fight for a living. It doesn't work like that. You have to have streams of income, multiple streams of income, right? Find something to sell, right? Maybe your hourly job, right? I encourage everybody to have an hourly job, at least for a long time until you establish your brand, establish your client base, establish your network of people, and then possibly a gym, right? If you're looking into that, but there's other streams. You just have to have other streams. It's super important, and I think a lot of people don't think about that. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna fight and get into the UFC and be a millionaire. Like, that's cool, but everybody's trying to do that.
Yeah, so is everybody else.
Right. So let's be realistic with it.
And I would say, because I saw the first UFC when it first came out. This is going back in the 90s, and. I remember because I was training with Machados in California at the time, and they had Royce Gracie, who was their cousin. And at that time, UFC was not, UFC 1 through 4, it was basically we're going to have boxing going against wrestlers, going against
individual styles.
Right,
different styles made
because at the time, that's what everybody was thinking. That's where the world was. Right. And then when the Gracies came on, when Jiu Jitsu pretty much came on, Royce came in, never threw a punch. Right. Just took him to the ground, choked him out. In like under a minute, every one of them, up till he went with Ken Shamrock. Right. And Shamrock was like 240, and Royce is maybe 180. In a gi, Ken is in the Speedo. Right. But he took Ken out. And Ken was a wrestler. Right. And Royce.
And that's what revolutionized jiu-jitsu.
And so all the Gracies where like, you know, because I have a friend of mine who was in the Gracie camp at the time saying, you know, there was this big debate internally about, do we pursue this? Because there was self-defense, jiu-jitsu, and then there was commercial jiu-jitsu.
Right, exactly.
And when Hoist hit it big, commercial won. And, you know, well, I should say UFC won in that regard. But, you know, then you have, back then you had competitive jiu-jitsu, but it just rocketed after that.
Yeah.
And one thing that the Gracies found out was that coming to America, it's not going to be just, you know, because they're down in Brazil. They're used to going against, you know, Brazilians maybe now, because they have a big Japanese community down there as well. Yeah, we'll go against that now. You're going against, everything gets put into this gigantic blender, and out from it came, you know, well, if you can grapple, well, what's the antidote to that? Make the guy pay coming in. And people got real good with kicking, with punching, and all that stuff. And now you have what you have today.
Yeah, they started keying onto the gi, and that's whenever they kind of brought Eddie Bravo's system into play, because Eddie Bravo was, I think, the one that's really started like doing the no gi. He did the jiu-jitsu, but he took away the gi, because when you're looking at whenever they started getting the Gracies or getting a hold of him, is because it was the gi.
Yep.
So then that's what kind of also helped revolutionize that into the no gi. I think that really pushed jiu-jitsu into where it's at today, because now you have, I mean, that branched out to a whole separate kind of, but it's still jiu-jitsu, right? So it kind of brought a whole different demographic to the
Naga. That's primarily no-gi.
Right. ADCC, you have all these like no-gi guys that are top competitive jiu-jitsu, but it's not points. It's more like almost MMA, because it's rougher, right? I would say it's the rougher end of jiu-jitsu, because the point system is very nice, and they have a lot of rules to protect. I mean, you can still get messed up, and like IBJJF, but they have a lot of rules to like prevent injuries, I think,
especially around like heel hooks and knee.
And I like how they have the like masters, and I think that's kind of cool, because then you're fighting guys your age bracket. MMA doesn't have that. MMA doesn't really have that, man. And I will tell you, like, yeah, that 18-year-old, that, you know, they're tough. You know, they have a lot of energy. So the gas tank is probably different. You know, on the opposite end, like 30-year-old versus 18-year-old, the 30-year-old is probably going to have more muscle mass, right? Because he's had a little more time. I mean, it depends situationally, right? But like, you know, it could be, you know, you got a little more man strength on him than the 18-year-old kid. He ain't even really, you know, he's just barely getting out the gate right now. So that's always kind of one of those things. But in MMA, if you can make the weight, they don't care how old you are. There's a dude, I think, on the card that I'm fighting on, it's like fighting at 50.
50?
50. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Well,
hey,
more
I mean,
power
like I
to
said,
you.
yeah, if it's something that you want to knock it off your bucket list, hey, all power to you. You know, but personally, hell no. Me, I want to be done. But I've also, my body's also weathered from the years of doing it too, right? So I mean, you know, maybe, I don't know. I want to watch this fight. Hopefully he does good. But man, I don't want to. The next day, when the adrenaline wears off, and I would like to.
That's when you ask yourself.
Pick his brain. Yeah. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Going back to what I was talking about, the Gracies, they had a split in their camp. You had the competitive ones, and they want to go to the competition, the UFC, that school, and then you had the self-defense group. Do you run into, for people coming here, when they come here, are they mostly for self-defense? I mean, is there an age group where that kind of kicks in?
Yeah. So for the self-defense ones, it's going to be, like I said, the like 25 to 35 age bracket, or 25 plus age bracket, right?
25 plus. Okay.
Yeah, just because, I mean, some of because honestly, whenever I'm thinking about everybody, I'm like, yeah, everybody that's about that age. I might have like one guy that's like 25, like in the MMA program and interested, but all the other ones are more like, I just want to know self-defense. I want to know how to defend myself. It's a good, like, mental push for them too. It's a good workout, so it checks all of their little objective boxes off. So they're doing it more for, now we train everybody the same. I'm just not going to be like yelling at Susie if she's dropping her, I'll say, hey, pick your hand up, but I'm not gonna lay out of her and like engrave it into her. Like the MMA class is different. The MMA class, I tell them it's our most complex class. You're putting the striking system and the grappling system together, right? So it's full contact, and I can't really baby you in that class. So you either like, I can kind of show you and walk you through it, but it's not like sometimes there's no nice way to do the move or to do the defense. Like if you're sprawled on a person, you can't do it like super slow. You gotta go, right? Like it's gotta look realistic, right? So
you're going to be dealing with a real guy,
right? So we can, maybe our first two can be super slow motion to get our body, but then we got to learn how to like do it like full speed but not full power. Drew does a real good job of explaining that a lot too. I hear him say that a lot, because he doesn't want us to get brain damage and
injured
training injured. Yeah. Not even brain damage, but injured in training, because then you don't make it to the fight, right? It's the longevity in the sport that gets you where you need to get, really, if you think about it, because most of us fall off like flies after 10 fights in the amateur is kind of a lot, if you ask me, right? So I mean, yeah, I would think getting an amateur title and then going pro is where it's at, honestly. Like, you don't need to stay. I remember Saul told me like you got an amateur state title and you got an amateur world title. Like, what more do you want? You want to be the best amateur on the world? Like, he told me to stop. He said other words, but he said stop being a weenie and
I'm sure he said weenie.
Yeah, yeah. He basically told me to like, I don't know. I thought whenever you go pro, like, I don't know, there's gonna be some magical like transformation or something. It's the absolute same. There's absolutely nothing different. You're the same you as before. There's nothing. There's now you get a little paycheck if you show up. Like that's it. But everything's the same essentially.
So, but life after the ring is going to be coaching other guys. It sounds like.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm
or not
curious.
just guys, but just whoever.
Yeah. Coaching the team, growing the brand. That's kind of one of my anxieties I get sometimes too. Like, what am I going to do after fighting? What does Dominick do on a professional level when I'm done stepping in the cage? I always juggle the business and the private training and all that, but something outside of that, I need to have some other venture. Like, I don't know about real estate. I thought about real estate. I don't know what. Maybe getting motorcycles, fixing them and flipping them. I don't know. Some kind of like something other than to kind of like sink my time
non-martial art.
I'll always do. I'm a martial artist for life. This is a lifestyle, right? So like, I'll still train. I'll still like, but you won't see me like going crazy. I won't. It's different. It's hard to say. Like, I want to be done when I'm done. I don't want to like, oh man, I feel good. I should go back again.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh no, cool. Now I'm 36, already doing what I said I didn't want to do. Now I'm like, just one. Just give me one. Mm-hmm. Really, what I want to do is I want to turn my record right. I want to get my record right. Even if we just go on a mean-ass streak. Our next, 9 fights, we're just winning. Whatever. Or not even, I don't care. We just get a positive record, right? And get a pro title. And I'll retire. Retire with the pro title and vacate it immediately. I don't care. Just to say, I did it on a professional level. There it is. It's done. Now I save my body the extra
wear and tear.
Wear and tear, right? Cause we're not making that much money on these shows. It's almost not even worth the fight. To be completely honest with y'all, you can break your hand and cost yourself more than what you're getting paid, and that's what a lot of these guys. You do it for the legacy, the brand building, the balls and the glory. Outside of that, it's not really life-changing money until you're getting into the UFC. So I guess that's why everybody's goal is to get to the UFC, right? Because now you can make $10,000, and that could, cool, you can finally go buy a car. You're not in a goddamn clunker no more, or whatever, right? Because the fighters, they're chaos. I don't find anything other than combat sports.
Let me ask you something. All right, so I asked this to a couple of people, and we talked about people coming in here for self-defense, men and women, both. What do you say to people who say, why bother learning self-defense when you got the cops to protect you? Why Why would you bother learning
What are the cops not there? It's that simple. Like, and that's why I tell the kids all the time. I hope and pray that none of you ever have to experience something to make you have to use anything that you learn in here. But we live in a crazy world. Now, your mommy and daddy may not be there. I may not be there to talk you through the situation. But my job is to get you to be able to do what you're doing in here with my guidance, out there without my guidance. I mean, you have to stay calm, collected in the chaotic situation, whatever the situation may be, right? Again, it boils down to situational awareness and how calm you are in that like adrenaline spike or dump or whatever you want to. Because you're gonna spike and then you're gonna dump real quick. So, you know, and shit gets real quick nowadays. So I mean, like, you know, I'm not telling anybody like, hey, like, go fight or go look for, you know, problems. I'm telling them to just be more situationally aware of things, and whenever it does hit the fan, you have to be calm and collected. Most people flip their shit, and that's what costs you. That's what costs you. It goes back to like swimming too. If you've never swam before and we throw you in a deep thing of water, you're probably gonna drown. You're gonna freak out. You're gonna get exhausted, and you're gonna drown. It's a life skill. It's the same thing. And it just, you know, I guess just preaching that situational awareness, being, you know, aware of your surroundings and learning how to stay calm in the storm. It's probably like the biggest takeaway. You know, the techniques, yes, of course, yes, absolutely. And I explain when and where to use certain techniques, and you'll see it as you develop in the system. Like, oh man, that's the thing we learned the other day. Or that's the thing, oh hey, that's a shrimp. Oh hey, I didn't think we ever would do that. Shrimping is probably one of the most used moves in the sport. So it's like, yes, I know we're doing shrimps again, but yes, it's necessary.
There's a reason.
I promise you. We call them functional movements. The kids don't understand anything. I'm just having them do like random workouts or whatever, but whenever it's like, okay, that knee slide translates later to a shot or a double A shot, or like just little things like that.
Or something.
Yeah, right. Like, you have to know the terminology so you can be coached from the outside, right? You have to be calm and collected, because you'll what's the Charlie Brown voice me? Like, you know, when the Charlie Brown, right? The teacher, you don't know what she's saying. I mean, all you hear is right, and that's real life. That's on some real life shit. Like, you'll be in there, and I remember my first few. I'm like, yo, I Charlie Brown verse. I had no idea. I saw you like yelling at me but I almost couldn't hear anything. There's been times where you just shut it all out. You almost don't even see anything with the peripheral vision. It's all black. It's just you and him in there. I've had over 10 fights now, so it's like every fight is a little different. I got to like conquer another level. I feel like I've gotten to a different level. You know, win, lose, or draw. Like, I think as a person, every fight I've developed overall. I think that's kind of like just the whole point of it. You just kind of go. That's all we're chasing, is development, really. I want to be a better version of myself every time I step into the cage, both on and off the mat. So you learn, because you trust me, you learn shit after a good ass whooping, or even after a close, tough loss. You can learn something, like something in you, like,
and tough wins too.
Tough wins, absolutely. Wins, losses. I mean, some guys, they get real cocky and arrogant, and they won't last long. You won't see them last long. Someone's gonna come around and be their boogeyman, and you're gonna see them crumble, and they're gonna be all sad and depressed and probably like quit and not. And that's not talking shit.
That's
anything,
more of
like,
a test of character.
Right. Basically, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's not like knocking on anybody, but these guys, like, if you get up real fast, you can fall faster. So you just gotta learn how to like be humble throughout the whole thing. You know, your shit always stinks. You know, like, calm down. You know, just be humble, man. There's enough like shitheads out there. I don't know, you call thugs, whatever. Like crazies, right? We're all crazy. We're fighting.
Well,
right?
if we're
crazy
doing
enough
this,
to get in the cage, we're crazy. But
if you're doing
there's
that,
so many statistics. You don't have to be another statistic, and that's why, like, I'm the bad guy. I'll play the bad guy or whatever. But I'm not gonna like talk shit on another man I don't know. I don't know that man. All I know is he's gonna try and come and beat me up, and I'm gonna try and beat him up. That's it.
Well, I mean,
you know, like,
when you put it that way, I mean,
they want you to sell the fight. They want you to, you know, do all this. But like, I get it. Like, but I want to be my truest self all the time. I don't want to have to like put on like, oh, I'm acting, so I'm gonna talk shit and say some inappropriate things that I probably shouldn't say. I know against my morals, but I'm gonna say it for the clout or for the review. You know, whatever for the show, for the money. I'm not. You know, I got, you know, higher moral standards than that. So I'm
yeah, and that's the thing. what I've seen, if you're putting the time in to do this, he's putting the time in to do this. So there's a mutual respect. I know what it takes to get there.
Yeah, and everybody I fought, whether I've won or lost to them, like they're usually pretty mutual with me afterwards. Like, damn, all right.
Well, like the guy you were telling me.
Yeah, like that's a tough dude. He was hitting me hard as fuck. He was hitting me hard. I was concussed. Hell yeah, I was concussed. I've had concussions before. He didn't knock me out. I got a hard head, but yeah, I was like, I was not feeling good after that fight. And I did think, damn, am I done? Should I be doing this? Like, do I suck? I don't like, because after a tough loss like that, that's like it's always in the back of your head type shit. Like, especially after a big skid, like how I went through. That I think it was more the boogeyman. Man, I don't feel like any of the guys. The boogeyman being my inner demons, or whatever you want to call it, right? Your inner self doubts, your inner like mental. Going back to the mental preparation, like. I kind of lacked on that, I guess the anxiety of being the guy that just couldn't win as a pro. And then it's like, oh, damn, another one. I lost another one. Damn, I have to win. Like, now it's just like, man, I'm writing my book. Win, lose, or draw. Like, we're gonna have our chapters. We're going to have our victories. And we're going to have our losses. You just got to trust the process. And I did that as an amateur, too, man.
That's a good point.
I did that as an amateur, too. I won and then I lost, and I won and then I lost. It's always kind of been part of my career. When I'm on, and I've said this in interviews before too, when I'm on, I'm on, and when I'm off, I'm off. It's just a hard on or off, man. And I feel like I'm on. So
was there any consistency that you can see in your training when you're on versus when you were off?
Absolutely. The clock in feels different. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's days where I'm like, damn. I'm gonna get up, like I'm fatigued, I'm sore, whatever. Like, hey, I know today's gonna be my gauntlet, Shark Tank, whatever you want to call it. Like today, I know I'm gonna go into ACS and they're gonna, like push me for 5.5s. And whether you're in shape or you're not in shape, like it sucks. It sucks. That's the tough. Like, the guys take care of me. I know they're bigger than me, but like, it's still a mental. Your body knows. Like when you wake up the day of the fight, your body knows you're about to go get like hurt. It knows. Your subconscious mind's like, hey man, today's the day. You have so many sleeps before that day comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I can only imagine how like the gladiators back in the day, like, hey, we're gonna go die. I'm gonna go stab another, chop this dude's head off, like, and that's it. That's game over. There's no like, fuck, I couldn't imagine, dude. I couldn't imagine.
There's only win records, no loss.
There's no loss records. When you lost, you died, and that was like honorable death because you're your best version at that point in time, and now you're done. Now you in Valhalla or whatever, right? Like, but now it's you got to live with your losses, so it's a little different. But like I said, I'm chasing the evolution, and I do believe in it. So, I mean, I've said it before. My time will come, and I believe my time is coming. And I feel like most people are like, oh yeah, I am old, and I say like I'm the old. I joke. I'm the old guy.
Oh my God! I listened to you saying I'm old.
I mean, I understand that. No, I mean, what I mean is I'm the old guy in fighting.
How old? 32,
I'm
right?
32. So
32.
Fighting,
you hear that?
Fighting, 32. I'm the old man around, right? Like I got the gray hairs in the cage, right?
Oh shit!
But I mean, like, it's just.
I can't wait. Just wait.
I mean, look, I don't honestly for guys that are fighting older than 36, man. I kind of feel bad for them. It's not if they feel good, great, cool, but like I don't know. I want to be cognitively here whenever I'm 60.
See,
70.
that's big. That to me is,
and that's important. A big thing because then I can still
function
and do things and invest money and make other moves, big moves. I'm not just looking at like little moves no more. We're looking at like land and just big money moves that you got to evolve yourself to over time, and that goes with saving and investing and just taking care of your mental and your psyche. Like once I start like slurring or getting punched, I love a dogfight. I know you see me and Philippe going at it. And Philippe's 250 pounds. I love going with that dude because I can hit him hard and he'll hit me hard back too. He don't care. So
yeah, built like a piece of wood.
Right, right. So like I'm all for a dogfight, but like you got to know, like. Every dog has so many fights before you're weathered.
Yeah, down. And I think to the point you're talking about Philippe, I think Philippe knows it too. I mean, he feels the same thing. I think all of you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that the thing not so much in our group because I think Drew kind of he's really big on, he's a good mentor for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen guys stay in the ring too long.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't end well.
No.
And it doesn't, they, oh, I'm fine. And then when they start hitting in their mid 40s, late 40s, it shows.
That's why I'm like, man, you don't see it now. You'll see it later. That's why I think 35 is a good. I feel like I'm the best I've ever been. So honestly, I feel like I'm prime time right now. Yeah, I could go back and take any version of Dominick in any camp I've ever done in my whole entire life, and I would beat every single version of him.
Would that be based because of skill, because of training?
Skill and mental. Like, I think the biggest gap that I've developed is going to be my grappling, my wrestling. Because we didn't really do a lot of that. I was a striker before. My kryptonite was wrestlers. They would take me down, and I couldn't get up. I would lose matches, until I really started. And I think that's another reason, because I knew ACS was a heavy grappling school. You have to seek out your flaws, man. I was flawed, and I knew it. Everybody knew it. After I fought for my first title, the dude took me down every round. He took me we went 5 rounds. He took me down every round 4, so I knew I was losing. I just remember going into the corner thinking man, I didn't come out here to lose. It's time to throw the knee. I threw the knee. It landed. It took him down, and I got the TKO in the 5th round.
Nice.
All right. But every fight after that, the dude shot in, took me down, or just it was a wrestling match.
Because they saw
I was exposed,
yeah.
Right, and it was an anxiety, because I was like, shit, they're gonna take me down. I didn't want to, and no matter how many sprawls you do, it's something that's got to come with time and reps and just putting the time in. And I didn't. I was at a striking school. We didn't have a strong,
ground game. We
had no ground game, really. There was a grappling coach. He was cool. He had some basics, but you got to have guys that it's a different look. Jiu Jitsu and wrestling is a different look too. Whenever I go to the Jiu Jitsu school I train at, they're pulling guard. They're working their back, which there's nothing on it, but that's a different look than whenever I'm at ACS. Y'all are wrestling. They're wrestling, or when I'm sparring with the guys at ACS and I go spar with someone else, they're not going to engage in the wrestling like we do at ACS. So it's just it's learning when and where to apply the stuff. I like it, man. I'm all for the evolution, man. It's awesome.
Well, I love it when you and I go together. I enjoyed it a lot, because the last time we went was like a chess match.
Yeah, I'm not trying to let you grab my head. Yeah, whenever you pull me in, that's a shit position for me. So I'm watching it, but I'm trying to figure out. I think I was trying to play with the butterfly guard, but when I play with the butterfly guard, I gotta bring my head in. Yeah, it's a constant.
Yeah, and when you go, someone like Steven, tall Steven.
Steven's a
yeah, he's got he and I both have a similar game. And when he and I go, it's like 2 octopuses trying to wrestle.
Yeah.
And when you and I went the last time we went, you were onto me. I'm like, shit. Every time I would go for the darts or something over the head,
I would try. Yeah,
you were just out of there.
Yeah, because I think you got me with one, maybe 2 rolls ago or something.
Yeah, but I could tell there was a look in your eye that one time you're like, never again.
No, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm pretty sure you got me with one, and I was like, no, we're not gonna have that happen again.
Yeah, and the minute I even you get a whiff of me moving, you're out of there. I'm like, shit, I gotta change my game.
Right. It makes you have to
evolve,
strategize, and evolve. Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that I attribute it because I've been, I'm old now. I've been to a lot of places, a lot of schools, and when I first went to Drew's place, I'm thinking, okay, how's this going to fit into everything? And Drew is really a good coach.
Yeah.
And very compelling. And he's got a good eye.
Yeah.
And that's a great combination.
Right.
And, I love watching him coach you guys. And it's just, I can just see, plus he loves doing it.
Right.
There's a difference between someone doing it for the money or
You're
for the
not going to find too many, guys that love doing it. What I mean by that is a lot of them, if they're paid, if they're on someone's payroll doing it, it's different than if they're running the business. This is what they do. This is their bread and butter. This is what they eat, breathe, and sleep. It's just ran differently at that point. Drew's a martial artist for life. So but he's learned how to evolve. He's older now, so he can't do what he used to do. So I think he's a great example of learning how to evolve on and off the mats. And that's why another reason why I really admire that skill set in him, because he's when I blew out my knee, I didn't know if I was ever going to do it again. They were like, hey man, you should chill. We don't run. They told me, oh, you don't need the knee because we don't run from dinosaurs no more. This is my surgeon. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like for real? Like,
oh, well.
But do you know what I do? Like, I was like, I'm a fighter. Of course I need to run. I need to like,
We're not
I
running
need my
from
knee.
dinosaurs.
Like, she's like, oh, well, I was just throwing it out there. Like, technically you don't need it because I was highly functional. I could run. I could even jump. So they were like, they wanted to do a study. I was like, am I gonna get paid? They're like, no. I was like, well, I ain't gonna do this. I ain't gonna be your lab rat for free. Shit, break me off and I'll let you study me all you want. Shit. Because I could even do the test. They would have me bend my knee and I would rotate my knee. And they're like, that should shift out. But I was in amazing shape. I was running like 17-minute 3-mile runs, booking it. Probably like 18, but 17 sounds better.
Yeah. Right.
So they were like, I mean, if it's not causing you, I was like, but I couldn't train. And remember that was kind of like, that was the common denominator whenever I'm like, man, it was so different. Like I was spiraling because I wasn't training. I wasn't like getting that vent, the mental vent. I tell people like, I feel weird. If I don't train in a few days, like my head feels weird. My brain feels different. I don't know. Like I'm antsy. My eyes start twitching. I got too much energy built up inside me or something. I don't know. The anxiety builds up. I don't know. I've never like done prescription pills. I always just train. It did it for me. And eat clean.
That's your prescription pill right there.
Like, so I mean, I don't know. I've never.
Well, and when you get over, you get to like 45. That's a hump, and then when you get to 60, that's a huge hump. Because
I bet, dude.
Because I'll come into church and the pastor, I'll have like a black, because you bump someone's head or catch an elbow or something like that because you're going. Right. And I'm like, and he looked at me, were you rolling with the young guys? I said, I'm just one of the guys. Yeah. They don't look at me as like, oh, he's too old. They just.
Yeah. You, I think that's kind of a cool thing too, because you can't really look past anybody in the game, because when you do, like, it's. I met this old dude named Skip, and I remember, man, this dude, I think he was about 80 years old on the mat.
Wow.
80 years old on the mat. He
That's
had
awesome.
The long tube socks. I
like him already.
Stereotypical, man, like just old dude, had the elbow pads on, the ear guards, and I was in Dallas, and I went out to this gym, and the instructor was a younger guy, or like I guess the new like apprentice instructor or whatever. He was doing class, but the old man was like, come over here, like showing you all that inverted shit. I'm gonna show you a knee bar, like he was showing me knee bar. His answer to everything was knee bar, and the dude was hitting it clean. But I was kind of like, hey man, you're like giving me a whole class over here in the middle of this dude's class, and I kept peeping the instructor kind of look, and I'm like, I didn't want to like cause any problems, but I didn't want to like be disrespectful to the old school either, but I just thought that was really cool, man. I thought that was like, man, you're 80? What?
That's awesome.
What? That is so crazy. He's like, knee bar, everywhere. Old man Skip. That's
cool. It's fun. And you like you said, you don't do I don't do prescription either.
Yeah.
And a lot of my peers, my same guys, they're what is it? Anxiety pills, blood pressure pills, heart stuff like that. And
so you're not
like,
on any meds at all?
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's awesome. How old are you?
66.
66. Pick up sticks, man. That's cool, dude.
But it can be done.
Yeah.
And
I think if you stay, if you eat clean and you keep active, a body in motion stays in motion.
And
you got to keep your mental sharp too, because I think what happens is typically people get what I've seen the videos, like the ages that people's dreams and aspirations kind of like die. I want to say it's like low, like 25 or something like that, and then they kind of like die and comply is what they were saying.
Okay.
Your aspirations, your dreams as a kid, you wanted to be an astronaut, you wanted to be
whatever,
this, you wanted to be that, whatever, a millionaire, and then by the time you got older, you just kind of got life beats you, and then you're kind of complacent where you're at. You're like, all right, I'm gonna pay my bills, and then whatever, pay my bills and die. I don't know. You kind of lose your focus. They get caught in the rat race, if you will, right? Like you're just kind of like, I'm going to work to come home to pay my bills, to go back to work to come home to pay my bills,